What is up, beautiful dance friends? I hope I can keep it together for this video. I'm getting ready for a dance class. I'm super excited. I should be warming up. But instead I'm on here to talk to you because I run into a lot of dancers. I love my dance circles. I love my people who are interested in dance that talk to me, who might not even be a dancer yet or think of themselves as a dancer, but are dance curious. And I love my people who do think of themselves as dancers and who continue to reach out to me with dance questions, advice, looking for advice, looking for inspiration. So I want to come on and make a super dance 101 bullet point, my sort of cheat sheet of how I go about learning a new dance. There are three main pillars that I would like for all new dancers or anyone who's like, I really need to revamp my experience of this dance. I've gone through like an undergrad program, but I can tell that I know very little, okay? I want to start learning to specialize in this dance. I want to immerse myself in it more fully. You can always recycle back to these three pillars, and in fact, you never really abandon them. As any masterful dancer will tell you, it's all the fundamentals, and the real dancers never stop working the fundamentals. And the difference between an amazing dancer that makes that impression and one that does not is how dedicated they are and how much life they breathe into their fundamentals. Okay, so that's big picture. That's almost some life philosophy as well. There's a lot to be said in the simplicity. So the big pillars, however, especially if you're new to dance, I'm going to start just directing this to you because I do hear from a lot of those people. Number one, find music of the genre that you want to dance. The genres are frequently broad. Bachata is a perfect example in that there's more of the traditional flavor bachata that sounds very different, especially to a novice ear. It's gonna sound and have like you just don't even think those are the same genre of the more traditional flavored music and the stuff that's more the modern remixification, urbanization, right, of the bachata genre. I love the full spectrum. I'm not here to talk about which one is better. It's not a better or worse, but if you want to learn bachata and you're only hanging out like in first, find music and find music you like in that genre because you need your gateway drug, okay? So find a playlist that you're just like, I want to listen to this on repeat, and then listen to it on repeat. I'm about to take a class that's dedicated to an Afro-Cuban orisha. I have hours of Afro-Cuban folkloric music on my phone. I have this one orisha's playlist, which is also like almost 3 hours of music. That's the only one that's downloaded, and it is on repeat on my phone, and I'm humming it and singing it and just letting it immerse my tissues all day. Like I wake up thinking it, I dream the rhythms, I'm stepping along the street and a rhythm will pop into my head and it's gonna affect the way I walk. That's what you want to do, especially with something like bachata, which is a cultural dance that people grow up learning to listen to and learning to feel. So if you're a Westerner who's wanting to learn it, you need to recreate that immersion experience for yourself. Otherwise, it's just like learning a language. You can study it in class, you can read it on a page, you can, have your website and your apps to help you, but unless you have the immersion experience, it's not really going to come to life for you. Okay, so you need to have your own workaround to create immersion. Music is your way. But I wanted to say, so music 2.0, right? Music 1.101. I'm mixing all the metaphors. But music 101 is find the music you like so that you listen to it. Music issue of my pillar of music number 2 is listen to the classic stuff. There's no masterful musician or dancer will tell you that it is not important to go back to the roots of the music you want to listen to, because that is carried along. That initial signature flavor, musical timing, rhythmic combinations, it will always, I have goosebumps saying this, it will always be echoed back in the modern feeling music. So if you want to dance that genre with feeling, with flavor, you need to connect with those roots. I'm so lucky that in, for example, my salsa journey, which is an ongoing journey, and it's a big part of why I'm now so in love with the Afro-Cuban traditions. But in my original salsa journey, I'm so lucky that my instructor had me listen to son artists, right? And artists who dance son, and these sort of the great-great-grandparents of the salsa I wanted to learn. He didn't take me back to like the ancestors, which is where I'm at now, but nonetheless, getting into the historic feeling. And at first, it was a little like, I wasn't really feeling the music. It's a little, for me, at the time, it was an acquired taste. But I put in the time to acquire the taste, and now that flavor is more in my dance than it would be otherwise. I'm not saying I'm the world's greatest, but I know there's a difference between my dancing because of that feeling, and I hear it from people that I respect. So without going on about myself, but that's what you need to do in every flavor. I did the same thing with bachata. At first, you're listening to aventura, you're listening to like the stuff that literally it's addictive. It's just very accessible to a Western ear. It just sounds familiar. It draws us in. I mean, I hate to compare it to a drug, but it's like that. It's easy. It's like, your favorite food. So then you also need to go back and listen to the artists that are sort of the underlying, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, the pantheon of artists that are behind that genre. Okay. So that's the music side. Listen to it, immerse yourself in it. Number 2, learn one basic step. One. Now, if it's bachata, remember, different dances have different levels of complexity of their different things, right? Of the different feet, we'll say, because then there's the body movement. That's in a minute, okay? But of what you're doing with your feet, different dances have different levels of complexity, more variation. Something like bachata or merengue or banda, or these are dances that are very, for lack of a better word, their foundational dance is simple. And guess what? That's not a disrespectful thing to say about the dance. That is embracing the dance for what it is. It's not meant to be. We don't value these dances for their complexity. Just like we don't value a child more or less because of its IQ, right? That's not the only quality that we're looking for in that child for it to have value. So something like bachata, your basic step is honestly like your merengue step with a pause, essentially. Like, learn the ish out of that. Do that step all the time. Don't learn patterns. Don't try to learn patterns, because you are just going to keep yourself in your head and you're going to mechanize that step rather than infuse it with the music, which is what you're bringing in. So you want to get to the point where automatically you start doing that step with the feeling of the music you're listening to. You can't help but permeate the step you're doing with the feeling. Do that from the get-go, because I don't want you to be one of these people who years later is like, I just still have such a hard time with the basic step. It's because you're not listening to the music. And even if you're listening to it, you have a block to feeling it. There's more I could say about this. In fact, let me just say this also, because I don't want to sound like I'm ridiculing someone who's really struggling with the dance. You might have 2 types of blocks. One is physical, one is a little bit more emotional, neurological, okay? And this is just being fucking honest, because I've worked with a lot of dancers and I've observed a lot of dancers. Physical. Maybe you're not aware that you don't have very good balance. If you don't have good balance and you can't decide when to change your weight, then even the most basic bachata step is going to be hard for you, because you're not going to be able to do the step in the musical timing. You're going to be off, and you're going to wonder why it's so hard for you. It's because you're off balance. Let alone if you want to do any footwork and stand on one leg and have precision with the moving leg. Sorry, I don't know if you can see my feet. I can't see my reflection. You keep going to classes to learn footwork patterns, and you're like, I can't do them. Well, it's because you're off balance. Like, you have to get to the root. Another thing that comes up a lot is like hip mobility and sort of low back tightness and tension. This is starting to transition into my third topic, by the way, which is body movement. Give me one second. So you might have this physical block that's interfering with your ability to do the timing of the music. So you might have to I'm going to leave this there because it's a bigger topic, but explore that. But if all you ever do is try to learn patterns and force patterns, and you just can't do the most elemental movement of your feet to the timing you're feeling in the music, which is also takes practice. You have to put in the time of practicing, learning it, feeling it, like I said. You might have a reason in your body that's not letting you. And that's a beautiful thing to have music and your dance exploration exposed for you. It's very powerful. I use dance in that way constructively in my own body to identify asymmetries in my shoulder health, in my hip health, in my foot strength. Dance is a massive reason to look at your body with a microscope, to like with a lens, to say, how am I moving? And it's a great inspiration to work on those things because you want to be able to dance. Okay. The third thing is get a feeling for, like, watch people dance it. Watch good dancers, especially like more folkloric or not necessarily but more traditional dancers. So not people, if it's bachata, don't just watch the people in the high heels and the leggings at the congresses, because they are doing the westernized version of this dance that is going to keep you at a very superficial level of immersion. You need to watch people in the DR or people who are reflecting that style here. You don't have to watch them forever. You can watch everyone you want, but especially if you're new and you are, like an impressionable child, a sponge for this stuff. Just like I want you to listen to the more traditional sounds for the learning. You don't have to love it forever. It doesn't have to become your favorite, but also watch the way it's traditionally danced, because you want some of that feeling and that body shaping in your dance. Now, two things. I said feeling and body shaping. Number one, we talked earlier about being on time. You want to be able to feel the music so you can mark the time, etc. You also need to be in character or in feeling of the dance. Not every way of getting from right foot to left foot, right foot to left foot, right foot to left foot looks like merengue, looks like bachata, okay? You have to start to be like almost an anthropologist to see what are the body movements that are transmitting the feeling of that music in a way that represents bachata, okay? Not in a way that represents what I'm physically able to do today, not in a way that represents my hip hop dance background because I can, because 1, 2, 3 tap can be shaped any way, like infinite number of ways. It's literally just one of the most blank canvases you could write movement onto. Okay, which is why that's kind of what's happening with bachata. And I love the creativity, but I also want to respect this dance. So if I want to learn bachata, I have to learn what movement, okay, is of the bachata essence. And that can be tricky with something that is so happily improvised, because people really go nuts on it, right? People have a lot of range. And you, as that new person, have to look for where's the essence. And then you also can learn that from people, right? You don't have to recreate the wheel. You can learn that from people. But then you have to respect that and try to figure out, I'm going to first learn the rules before I break them. I'm going to first learn to dance bachata like a bachatero, like a bachatera, and then improvise in a way that also dignifies that dance. There's an order. You have to do this in this order. You cannot just improvise first and be like, I'm the world's greatest, and you're actually dancing another dance to this rhythm. And yeah, it matters. And honestly, there's a real parallel here to like learning a language, right? It's not, your body, just like your brain, will constantly want to recall things that are familiar to you. You have a way of walking. You have a way of dancing, even if you're not like a hip hop dancer. You're not a dancer. You hear music, your body has a way that you move. It's your autopilot. Dance can help you see your autopilot, which is very therapeutic, by the way. It helps you see your programming, physical and sometimes emotional. It helps you see your programming, and if you want to invest in learning that dance, it's giving you the option to rewrite the code. But maybe you never do. Maybe you're that jackass Westerner who keeps saying, "Como estas? Quiero los frijoles negros." Okay? Don't be that jackass. Don't be that jackass in dance. Don't be that jackass in language. Learn to dignify the shaping of those words, right? For the analogy, shape your body movement in a way that dignifies that dance. Don't bring your baggage. Don't bring your accent. Don't bring your default movement. Don't bring your favorite dance to that genre at the beginning. And that's nothing wrong with your accent or your dance or your default. But if you're going to learn this dance, do it in a way that honors the dance. And then, like I said, learn how to break the rules in a way that reflects that flavor, okay? Especially if it's a dance that allows that. Some dances don't. I'm not gonna bring my like my bachata flavor to my wawanko dance. I'm using this example for a reason because the hip movement might lure my baggage, might lure some other dance tendencies that are already very in me to this new dance. I have to have the discipline to be like, that hip movement is not wawanko, right? I don't even know if you can see my hips, but this, I'm not doing it real, but this is just an example, is not this. That straight leg business, bachata, super simple example. Like I said, I don't even know if you can see my hips. Not wawanko. And I'm not doing wawanko, but just I want you to be able to see my hips. Okay. So that would be an example where it'd be very tempting to borrow on my past repertoire, my accent could bleed into this new dance I'm learning. And I have to have the awareness to not let it. And I want to dance them separately. Okay, this is one example. Other styles like bachata might allow you later to bring that flavor in, and without disrespecting the dance. You need to know the difference. All right, guys, I think that's most of it. Listen to music, especially the old stuff, quote unquote. Even if it's an acquired taste, acquire that MFing taste, okay? You don't have to listen to it forever, but you want your body to have that feeling in it. Learn one step and learn to infuse that one step. Less is more. One step. Do the one step with the feeling of the music. And at first, you might be doing your own feeling to that music. So then you need to watch dancers so that you start to recreate the feeling, the shaping that is actually of that genre. 3 is my trinity of getting started in a dance. And again, you can come back and do this at any time. And along the way, you're identifying if you have a movement block. And I mentioned like a neurological emotional block. It's because some music, well, not some music, all music has an emotional register. So you might have a block to feeling and moving away that is of an emotional register with that song. Maybe the really sensual flavor bachata you love, but the more like alegre, festive, huira infused stuff of the more traditional music, or the very emotionally heavy, slit your wrist, drink some rum at the bar, like heaviness of it, for lack of a better way to characterize. Maybe that is like, I can't really go there emotionally. That's gonna prevent you from being able to dance that music in its flavor. So that is an invitation to you as a dancer, right? Or for me, for example, the orisha I'm about to dance is a war orisha versus the orisha of like honey and love and femininity and sensuality. Okay, 2 totally different flavors. They share some steps. You don't do those steps the same way. They don't share many, right? But that's an example. Very different flavors. Maybe I'm gonna enjoy one of those more than other. As a dancer, I want to be able to give fully to the warrior and fully to the milk and honey, okay? And you also want to be able to feel the full emotional register of your bachata. You want to be able to get down with the traditional and get down with the sensual in your own way. That's your goal. That's your goal if you want to explore it fully. And if you just want a small slice of that you want to dance to for the rest of your life, that's for you too. All right, guys, I hope this has been interesting. I've had chills a number of times telling you about this. This stuff means a lot to me. If you have questions, comments, you want to talk more, I would love to keep this conversation going. Enjoy your dance. Talk soon.